Hey everyone, today's February 9th, 2020. It's 3:38 p.m., 45 Fahrenheit, 7 Celsius. I'm here with my friend Tom, the comedian and tour guide.
I'm here with Ken, and we're going to start walking around Brooklyn Heights.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to do a walk of Brooklyn Heights today. We're starting today at the Brooklyn Borough Hall, which he will tell us about.
Yeah.
So, let's get started.
Let's do it. So we're going to start right here. Behind me is Brooklyn Borough Hall. This was actually the city hall of the city of Brooklyn, which was actually incorporated in 1816 as a city, and this was its city hall starting in 1848. But starting in 1898, it was the Borough Hall because Brooklyn was then a borough, not a city. Part of New York City, which is the bigger 5 boroughs. Anyways, let's keep moving. Pretty building. It's also the offices of Eric Adams, who is the borough president of Brooklyn. And he just recently made the news because he told transplants of New York to go back to Ohio. He said that, yeah, it was a pretty big deal. But he clarified, and what he was saying was he didn't want people coming to New York and moving here and then wanting to change New York into something that it's not. You know, chain restaurants and things like that. That's been a big issue, and people have been very upset. So I kind of get where he's coming from, to be honest. That being said, I'm a transplant. Okay, fine, whatever. But you know, you got to respect New York for what it is: the diversity of businesses, all that stuff, small business.
Yeah, so, being in New York is not all about being from here or being a transplant.
Man, that's right.
There's so many people here, man.
Yeah, E.B. White famously once said, "Oh, look at that!
Whoa!
Don't want to get interrupted."
You know it's New York when you hear these sirens.
And you hear that like rumbling. That's actually a device that New York NYPD cars have called rumblers. It's to alert people in their cars who are listening to music loud or have their earphones in or something that there's police, in case you can't hear the sirens. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Look at that. Huh?
Drum and bass in New York.
That's right, Ken. Drum and bass in the police cars. But yeah, so we're walking now on Court Street. So what we're in basically here is this is all old Brooklyn. This is Brooklyn Heights. So back when Brooklyn was its own city, this is where the prominent citizens lived. This is where the banks were. This is where kind of everything went down when it was still the city of Brooklyn. Nearby was the offices to like the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, which was like Brooklyn's New York Times. That's where Walt Whitman worked. Tons and tons of famous Brooklynites lived here or live here now.
That newspaper sounds familiar, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle.
That's right. That's where Walt Whitman worked. So we're now walking on Montague Street. And Montague Street was kind of the, I guess, the happening street in New York. Bob Dylan mentions it in Tangled Up in Blue.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, I live with him on Montague Street in the basement down the stairs. There's music in the cafes at night and revolution in the air. That was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was a good impression.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I wish I had a harmonica just to blow on it. But no, this is all Montague Street. It was very, I guess, popular hangout. A lot of the stores and restaurants and bars. Still is a lot of it. And also, too, another thing to keep in mind about Brooklyn Heights, this was the first protected neighborhood in New York City history. First landmarked neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is landmarked, which means that an association takes care of it. To do anything to your buildings, or you have to go through tons and tons of red tape. I believe it's the Brooklyn Heights Association that takes care of it.
I read about that too.
Yeah, they're very powerful actually because there's a lot of very wealthy people in this neighborhood. So
yeah, we're going to see a lot of different kinds of homes here too, and buildings.
Yeah. So here, right?
Take a look at this.
Yeah. So this building here.
Whoa.
This is actually this whole corner here. We're at Montague and Clinton. This is like where a lot of the banks had their offices. You see a few of them here, but this one here is notable. This one here is the Brooklyn Trust Company. This was built in 1916. It's actually modeled after the Palazzo della Gran Guardia, which is Italian. I guess I need to do this with my fingers to pronounce it correctly. But this building is actually a very protected interior as well. You can normally go in it. I don't think we can today. I think it's closed on Sundays. But a very beautiful building. They used it in the movie Brooklyn, actually. Interior. And then over here on the other corner, you have the Franklin Trust Company. This building was built in 1891. It was another trust company, another kind of bank that was built in 1891. It was a really pretty building as well. And it's now apartments, condos. It's like the law of New York. Everything turns into condos at some point. And then here to the left, you have St. Anne. St. Anne Holy Trinity Church is the oldest Episcopal parish in Brooklyn, 1787. This building's only been here since 1847. So,
unfortunately, it was scaffolding, so we can't see the complete.
And also, too, the steeple was it's not as long as it used to be, not as big as it used to be. It was truncated. Truncate. How's that for an SAT word, huh, Ken? Huh?
Truncate. I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Thank you very much. I know it's very, very fancy vocabulary I have. And here to the left, you have the Brooklyn Historical Society. This is a really pretty Queen Anne style building. You can see the cool thing about this building is those heads on there, the busts. Those are all prominent citizens of the world. You have, there's a Shakespeare, you got Beethoven.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I see
cool?
Shakespeare.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's
Cool.
others on the other side too. You'll have Christopher Columbus, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was canceled already. So maybe we shouldn't mention him.
By the way, I've been inside the Brooklyn Historical Society.
Yeah,
It's great.
It is a very cool museum.
They got like old maps of Brooklyn and
Yep.
different artifacts and stuff. Really cool.
And over here, across the street here, you have, this is St. Anne's School. This used to be the Crescent Athletic Club, and it's now a private school, a high school. Actually, we can walk this way. It's a private school now. I believe it's all the way from kindergarten to high school, and the tuition's like $40,000, $43,000.
All right. Where's Columbus here? Oh, there he is.
You see him?
The man Columbus, and I don't know who that is. Oh, it's Franklin.
That's Benjamin Franklin. Yeah.
Yep. I know him because I see him on the money all the time.
That's right, because all you make is $100 bills, baby, right? Right, Ken? That's
I wish.
He's like, I'm so used to Ben Franklin. All I do is dealing with hundreds, so I know him very well. So yeah, St. Anne's School actually is also famous for a lot of, alumni like Jennifer Connelly, Mike D from the Beastie Boys, Lena Dunham. In fact, it just turned down Matt Damon's kids from going there. Matt Damon's kids are just turned down from going there. So they just go in at night now and solve equations on the walls. Good Will Hunting reference?
Yeah.
Come on. All right, we're walking. You can see all these brownstones, the beautiful brownstones of Brooklyn. All brownstone is sandstone in a certain color that kind of become indicative of New York. Become very typical. And you also see the stoops, by the way. That's a very New York, Brooklyn thing. Stoop actually the word comes from stoep, which is Dutch, S-T-O-E-P, I believe, and it just means steps.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason they have them is because when they started building these buildings way back, they would build them on top of each other with no access to the back. But they needed to make different entrances, one for the people who lived there and one for the servants. So the servants go into the building, or went into the building under the stairs, and the people who live there use the stairs to separate themselves from the dirt and the muck and the manure in the streets. Don't trip, Ken. I'm worried about you.
Saw that at the last minute.
Yeah.
Last second, I should say.
Yep. So this is actually Pierrepont Street. This is a very, very fancy little, I guess, residential street here in Brooklyn Heights. You're going to see a building here on the left. This is 102 Pierrepont. This is actually where Norman Mailer lived, also where Arthur Miller lived. And they actually lived there at the same time. They're two very famous authors. In fact, Norman Mailer lived here, and Arthur Miller moved in, and he said in interviews that he remembers him moving in, and he remembered thinking, that guy's never really going to amount to anything. But Arthur Miller ended up being pretty famous and lived in a bunch of places in Brooklyn Heights. You don't know who he is? He's the guy who wrote The Death of Salesman.
Oh, yeah. I read that book in high school.
Nice, of course you did. Because you did all your homework in high school, right?
I did all my homework.
You actually didn't read the clip notes.
It was a really hard exam, by the way.
Oh, sure.
Death of the Salesman.
He also wrote The Crucible, and he also married Marilyn Monroe, which is what most people know him for. So like buildings like this building's awesome. I love this building.
Oh, this is
nice. This is the Behr Mansion, B-E-H-R Mansion. This building was built in the late 1800s by Herman Behr. He was an industrialist, and this was his house. It's been added to over time, but later it turned into a hotel, then it turned into a brothel in the mid-1900s, and then into a monastery in the 1960s, and today it is, what is it, Ken?
I don't know.
Condos.
What is
it?
it?
Condos.
It's condos. Yeah. I thought it would be another brothel.
Yeah. That's just wishful thinking. All right, let's keep moving. It's a really pretty building, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those here. If you look at back where we just walked, look at all the different styles of architecture. It's so cool.
Yeah, not every building's the same.
Right.
Even though they're all brownstones, some are taller, some are shorter.
Right. And then you have different styles that aren't brownstones, some that aren't just, different styles of architecture. So now we're walking down Henry Street. Walking up Henry Street, walking north. You're going to see lots of different styles of architecture on this street as well. You see that little house there? That's cool. That building was built in the early 1900s, and now it has a little CVS.
CVS?
Yeah. Which, by the way, you know what CVS stands for, Ken?
What does that stand for?
Consumer Value Store.
Oh.
Look at that. It's already worthwhile watching
that.
this video just for that. Come on, you're going to use that. You know it. So now we're walking north.
You know, it's funny. There's a Duane Reade in Manhattan. It's located between Duane Street and Reed Street. I wonder that's where they got the name.
That is where they got the name.
It is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. You're very excited about that, Ken.
I know. I was.
Yeah. Yeah, so this these are also, too, another thing to keep in mind. This is a very, very fancy neighborhood in Brooklyn. This is like where, you know, it's like kind of like a Greenwich Village of Brooklyn, I'd say, if you had to compare it to anything. What's cool about it, too, is that it's so quiet and peaceful, but you're really literally one stop away from Lower Manhattan.
Oh, watch this. What is this, like undeveloped sidewalk?
No, I think it's just wet cement over here.
Yeah, I would have walked right into it.
You should have. Put your footprint in there.
It would have gone viral.
Yeah, that's right. You put your feet, your handprints.
Action
the
Kids
Walk of Fame.
footprint for sale.
That's right. That's right. The Brooklyn Heights Walk of Fame with Action Kid first. You're going to see, too, like some churches over here. This one over here is pretty famous. This is actually the oldest continuously operated church in Brooklyn Heights. It's been in operation since 1839. It's been the Zion German Evangelical Lutheran Church since, I believe, the 1850s. Yeah, 1855.
1855,
Yeah.
wow.
You see, Willkommen is German. The Germans were a huge immigrant group here in New York City and in the United States in the mid-1800s, along with the Irish. They came around at the same time. Interesting thing is people didn't discriminate against the Germans as much as the Irish because a lot of the Germans who came were a little more well-to-do. The Irish came, a lot of them, because of the potato famine.
And what's this church across the street?
This is a Presbyterian church, First Presbyterian of Brooklyn. Pretty building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of churches on here.
Yeah.
Around here.
And here we just continue to walk. You also see we walked by the R train over down there on Montague. It's interesting too. You got to remember that like the trains, the subways that run through Brooklyn ran separate from the subways that opened in Manhattan initially. The first subway opened in 1904 in Manhattan. Then a little later, like I believe like 10 years later, they developed the BRT. The first was the IRT, then came the BRT, which is Brooklyn, which changed to the BMT. And they were separate lines, and they were created to connect to Manhattan. So they were separate. They were run separately. They were private, both of them. Then the IND was created, and that was public. Then the three were combined by ⁴ LaGuardia and all made public.
Okay.
So
Hotel St. George.
Hotel St. George, that's right. Should we cross or should we walk into the scaffolding? I hate walking under the scaffolding.
I hate walking on the
Let's
scaffolding.
cross.
It's so like,
That's lame.
not good.
Yeah. So the Hotel St. George is a pretty famous hotel. It was built in parts from 1885 to like 1929 or something like that. But it used to be a very fancy hotel, known for its ballrooms. They recorded, you know, like I think Leonard Bernstein recorded in some of the ballrooms. They're really, really huge and famous ballrooms. And I think I was reading that back when I did this tour more often, that they filmed the scene from The Godfather, the Luca Brasi.
What, it's a subway entrance?
And there's
the
a
hotel?
subway. Yeah, there's a subway entrance.
Oh, wow.
Right beneath here. I can't believe
So what happens in the hotel?
That's what you're most impressed by. The hotel. There's a couple of different entrances.
Oh. Well, we were also talking about the subways before, and I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, it's right there. You're right. Yeah, but that's like I was saying that the Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes scene from Godfather was filmed in the hotel bar. You know that scene? Have you ever seen
I don't
Godfather?
see it. Oh, I've seen it. It's been a while, though.
The scene where they bring the fish to him and he's like, what is this? And he's like, it's a Sicilian message. What does it mean? It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it means they killed him.
That was crazy. One of my favorite subway entrances is in Manhattan. There's a Subway restaurant entrance at the subway entrance in Wall Street.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's your favorite entrance?
Because it actually is a literal Subway restaurant
Right.
entrance.
Well, that's where the chain got its name. So now we're kind of walking into the part of Brooklyn Heights that has a lot of all the fruit named streets. There's a little fruit basket of the neighborhood.
Mm.
So there's a couple theories as to why they're named after fruits. One is that a prominent woman lived here, and she changed the names from people's names to fruits in the middle of the night, or and then just keep being persistent about it because she thought it was pretentious to keep the names. Her name was Lady Middaugh. Interestingly enough, she left the street Middaugh because she wanted still her name. That's one theory. The other theory is that the Hicks brothers, who used to live here, prominent citizens, actually were the ones who laid it out in the early 1800s, and they sold fruits, so they named them after fruits.
So there's Orange Street.
This is Orange Street.
Aren't you glad we're on Orange Street now?
Ken, yeah, nice work. That's one of the older houses there in Brooklyn Heights, 1828. Pretty cool little house. Look at it, made of wood.
Okay.
You don't see many houses like that in New York. Yeah, he named it after
really
fruits
old
because he sold fruit, because they sold fruit.
And the Plymouth Church.
What's that? Yeah, and this is Plymouth Church. So Plymouth Church has been around since 1849, or I believe this building's 1849, but the church I think 1847. And it's famous for Henry Ward Beecher. He was the preacher here. He was like a mega preacher. He had the ear of Abraham Lincoln. He was a big abolitionist. And they called this the Grand Central Depot of the Underground Railroad. This actually had tunnels that served as like one of the central meeting points for the Underground Railroad. You may know that from Harriet Tubman. It was a system to help escaped slaves make it to Canada safely.
Wow.
And that's Henry Ward Beecher, that statue. And you can see the relief of Abraham Lincoln.
Very handsome man there.
Yeah, he's all right. But he also, interestingly enough, had a scandal. He slept with one of the wives of one of his congregation, and it was a big deal. And he got kind of tarnished his name a little. But that statue was carved by Gutzon Borglum, who also made Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, little trivia. But yeah, Plymouth Church, very famous. His sister also too, Harriet Beecher Stowe. She wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin.
That's the book I haven't read yet.
Yeah, there you go. You read the Cliff Notes of that one in high school, didn't you?
No, it wasn't assigned in high school.
Oh, okay. Uncle Tom's Cabin, I've actually never read it as well. I just know that it's unfortunately the book that makes it difficult for me to go by Uncle Tom to all my nieces and nephews because it's really, it's not a positive thing.
Yeah,
so I'm like, just call me Uncle T, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's a very famous book. Yeah, we're just walking along Orange Street here.
I also read that there might have been actual fruit trees back then that were grown.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oranges and pineapples.
Yeah, there's cranberry.
Although I don't really think New York's the climate for pineapples, though.
I think you're right.
How would they grow pineapples?
I don't know if that might not be true, Ken. It's possible that what you heard wasn't true.
I'm just thinking. I'm like, oh, how can you grow pineapples in New York?
Yeah, I don't think you can. Or at least not successfully. And over there, down on Cranberry's over there, but we're walking this way, is the house from the movie Moonstruck. It's on Cranberry Street, which is the next block over. You ever seen Moonstruck with Cher?
Never saw
and
that.
Nicolas Cage? What's your favorite movie? New York movie, Ken?
New York movie,
Yeah.
probably Godfather or
Really?
The Warriors.
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters. I haven't seen it in a while, but
Yeah,
I should rewatch it.
it's a good one. The Warriors is great.
Yeah.
You know, supposedly when The Warriors came out, a lot of movie theaters stopped playing it because people were getting too violent.
Oh.
It just amped people up so much. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Oh my god.
It's a great movie though. Check this
Yeah,
out. This
it
is a cool building. So this building here is a 70 Willow. This building has been here since the 1830s, late 1830s, but it's famous because a resident who lived here starting in like 1953, I believe. His name was Oliver Smith. He was a Broadway set designer and stage designer. He lived there, and he had one of his friends stay there in the basement apartment starting in 1955. That friend was named Truman Capote.
Ooh.
Truman Capote came and asked his friend if he could crash there, and ended up staying there for 10 years. He wrote part of Breakfast at Tiffany's here, and he also got the New York Times and read the New York Times one day and read the story that was the inspiration for the book In Cold Blood. If you've never read that book, it's a phenomenal book. Riveting book. There's another SAT word for you, riveting.
Riveting,
Yeah.
truncating.
I'm really teaching you a lot today.
I know. And CVS.
And CVS, Consumer Value Store. There you go.
And Dwayne Reed, which I kind of figured out on my own, but...
Yeah, you brought that up one. I'll give you that one. And check it out. This here is the Leverage Towers. This is kind of interesting. Leverage, yeah.
Oh, Leverage.
Yeah, this used to be a hotel. It just recently got bought by a private equity company, and it's being turned into high-end assisted living home for seniors.
Oh.
How high-end, you ask? Well, the rents start at like $8,500 a month.
Wow.
To about $20,000 a month. That is not cheap.
That's not cheap at all.
You got to be a rich old person to live there. But yeah, it's there's a few very old school, classy hotels here. Interestingly enough, a lot of the land, a lot of the properties here, a lot of them are owned or were owned at some point by the Jehovah's Witnesses. They were a huge landowner here in Brooklyn Heights, and they actually, to their credit, they rehabilitated lots of decrepit buildings and hotels and made them nice. So now we're going to be walking down Columbia Heights. This street is a very beautiful street in Brooklyn Heights. Got lots of different style buildings here as well, like we saw on Pierrepont. So
oh, look, Kingdom Hall. Is that related to Jehovah's Witnesses?
that's right. That is correct.
Ooh.
That is correct. That was those were dormitories, I believe. And then over here to the left as well, you're going to have more of their buildings. We're just going to walk on the other side. Oh, check it out! Look, a green taxi cab. You know what those are, Ken?
I think I read it's like from the outer boroughs.
That's right. It's a borough.
below.
It's a borough cab. So what it means is the license, the medallion's usually cheaper for the drivers, but they can't pick you up in Manhattan. Well, south of, I believe, like the top of the park. So they can't pick you up in like the most densely populated and busiest areas. That's why it's cheaper. These are some beautiful houses, man.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
cheap.
I remember doing a video here once. I think I call it the Billionaire's Row of Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. I remember Jay-Z and Beyonce were looking at a place here before they ended up buying. They ended up buying in Tribeca. That's where they ended up getting married.
It's a great place to be if you had money.
Yeah,
Buy it.
that's right.
And I won't spoil the what we're about to see to the right here.
What's that? Oh yeah, don't spoil it yet.
Don't spoil it yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, you'll see why. You'll see why it's super expensive here in a second. But it's also called Brooklyn Heights because we're at a height. It's elevated. People forget that all this area used to be like mountains and cliffs, and we're actually elevated right now, which you'll see in a second.
How much would one of these buildings go for? I don't know.
Oh, they like 15, 20 million for the buildings. Yeah, if not more.
I could afford that easily.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get a few more million subscribers there, Ken. Sorry, buddy. You're on your way, but I don't know. I think you might need a few more. A couple billion subscribers, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Who even knows how much you need? I don't even know. But you see, like all these like little cool, like look at the little cool carriage house there.
I wonder what it's now. A
That's
garage probably, not a carriage house.
Yeah.
What
This
should
is
say
the
that
street.
front door?
This is also the street where Matt Damon and John Krasinski live, Mary Louise Parker. They live in the Standish. That's the name of their building. Another little carriage house. Pretty cool.
It's a lot of carriage houses
Yeah.
here. Or former carriage houses.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now they're car garages.
No, not even probably. I doubt. Some of them are, but
Oh yeah, probably. A lot of them are converted.
yeah. That's like there's like a fire. A lot of people convert these old buildings, like the Anderson Cooper. He lives in a converted firehouse in Greenwich Village. He converted the entire old firehouse into a mansion.
Wow.
Yeah, on West 3rd Street. Pretty cool. Guess you can do that kind of stuff when you have money.
You won't even know it. We're looking at the outside.
Nope. I love those little owls. See the little owls? You know why they put those there, right?
Hoot hoot.
Yeah.
No idea.
They do it to scare away pigeons. They put owls. In fact, at the old Standard Oil building down on Broadway, where Rockefeller used to have his headquarters, they actually intermittently let out screeches of owl screeches. Yeah, to scare away pigeons from just, pooping all over everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It actually works?
It actually works.
Wow. They should do that on the subway stations because I get pooped on from time to time.
You do?
Yeah. Probably happens like once every 2 years or so.
Here,
I probably get pooped on more than most people because I do a lot of walking. So.
You know what we can do so we can hit Montague? Let's go this way.
All right.
Let's go Pierrepont and then go over to Montague and come back.
All right, we're gonna go to Montague now.
You got to see some of Montague.
Yeah. So this is the end of Columbia Heights. Now it's called
Pretty much.
Pierrepont Place.
But it's easy to like miss. You're walking by all these fronts and you don't see like you look up, you see like these are all really pretty awesome buildings.
Yeah, look at these old buildings, huh?
Yeah.
How thick are these stones? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's crazy, people forget that Brooklyn was its own city for a very long time and actually was a very proud city. And it didn't want to become part of New York City. They had a rivalry with New York City. There's like old cartoons that you could see where New York City's like this, like snobby, whatever, stuck up, and Brooklyn was kind of the common man's place. And they went in reluctantly. There was a referendum. They had a referendum to be voted on here in Brooklyn to become part of New York City, and it passed by just a few hundred votes. And so they went in reluctantly, and they became part of New York City. It's interesting though if you think about it, because both of the cities at the time were humongous cities. Brooklyn was the 4th largest city in the country. Today, if its own city, it'd still be the 4th largest. But back then, it was one of the largest cities in the country, and it united with the largest city in the country. And that's like today,
wow.
if New York City combined with Chicago or something into one city. That's crazy. Think about it. That was a big deal. And that was in 1898. Look, we're going to be taking a left right on Hicks Street after the Hicks brothers. Two very big.
Hicks Street, huh? So were there two brothers? Hicks?
They were the Hicks brothers, family here, prominent family in the neighborhood. It's funny. Some people are like looking at us like all weird as we walk by them. They like turn around. They're like, "Who are these guys?" They're like, "Is that Action Kid?"
Nah. They're probably just wondering like, what are these people doing here?
What are these freaks just walking around with a GoPro? Check it out. This is a cool building. The Bossert. That was the old Hotel Bossert. They called that the Waldorf Astoria of Brooklyn Heights back in the day.
Wow. It does look like the Waldorf Astoria.
It was just like a really luxurious hotel. It's actually where the Brooklyn Dodgers went to celebrate their victory in the World Series in 1955. Which, by the way, the Brooklyn Dodgers were here in Brooklyn until 1957, but we passed by a TD Bank that used to be where we were on Montague. That TD Bank was where the offices to the Brooklyn Dodgers used to be. And in 1947, that's where they signed Jackie Robinson, first African-American professional baseball player.
You know how the Dodgers got their name?
I do. It was a nickname. So there was a club, a baseball club, and they got their nickname. It was originally, the nickname was Trolley Dodgers, because there were tons and tons of trolleys all over Brooklyn, and people would have to dodge the trolleys to get anywhere, including the baseball stadiums. So they called them the Trolley Dodgers. And then they moved to LA, in 1957 when they're still called the Dodgers.
It's a fun fact that.
It is a fun fact. Nowadays the Dodgers.
Amusing.
Yeah. Now they're just the Prius Dodgers in LA.
Prius Dodgers.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Thank you. And here you got the Brooklyn. Look at that. You see that writing there?
Uh-huh.
That's closer to what the word Brooklyn is. It's Dutch. It's a Dutch word. It's actually a small town in the Netherlands. And that's where the word comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn. Arthur Miller lived in this building as well, right here to the left.
Uh-huh.
Cool, yeah.
Really cool building here.
It's nice. So yeah, so now we're walking to a couple things. I'm going to show you guys. Here in a second, we'll be ending shortly. Sorry for the sad news. I know you're torn up about that, Ken, but we're going to be ending here in a second. But before we do, there's actually some really cool history over here. So we're coming up to a place called ⁴ Chimneys. This area here is where they say the cabin was located, where George Washington made a very important decision for the Battle of Long Island, they called it. And it was a part of the Revolutionary War, the War of Independence. And August 29th, 1776 is one of the early battles of the Revolutionary War. The British came here to just basically end the war right at the beginning. They're like, screw this, we're just going to go right to New York because it's a central location and just pounce, and trounce the army here. They outnumbered the Americans like more than 3 to 1. They came to Staten Island and they came in first through Brooklyn, and they were going to then go into Manhattan. And they pushed Washington all the way back here. And he made the decision to, under the cover of night, escape and cross the East River and then escape all of New York City then. And he barely escaped. He did it under the cover of night in dead silence and was able to continue fighting because he was able to escape. Otherwise, he would have had to surrender. And this is what they call here, where they say the house was occupied. It's pretty cool.
Whoa.
So
George
he withdrew.
Washington. I know him.
Yeah, he's the guy on the $1 bill, but you don't deal with $1 bills, right, Ken? You're only $100 bills. So anyways, he evacuated here August 29th under the cover of night and was able to continue fighting, but the war almost ended right then and there. If they were able to come in the next morning and demand a surrender, it would have ended right here. So they put that right here to commemorate that. That's right, New York got some Revolutionary War history as well. So now we're going to be going to the crown jewel of Brooklyn Heights. This is why it costs so much to live here. One of the reasons why it costs so much. Why Columbia Heights, the street we were just on, costs so much to live on. And it's the view. This view is insane.
And here it is, folks.
There it is. There it is.
Only there's a way to fly from here.
Pretty cool. Got a good view here, though.
I can see the Statue of Liberty from here.
You can see the Statue of Liberty. You can see Staten Island. There's Governor's Island. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty. I'm sure you know all about that. You got Ellis Island over there. There's Lower Manhattan. And there's you see the One World Trade Center. You can see 40 Wall Street with the blue top there. You can see the New York by Frank Gehry, the one with the ridges on the side, that steel building. You see the municipal building, the one with the little statue on top.
See the Brooklyn Bridge.
And the Brooklyn Bridge.
You can even see Midtown from here. Wow.
Yeah. Pretty awesome. You see, there's the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
See a little bit of the Chrysler Building there.
Yeah. I see the Hudson Yards building.
Yeah, and beneath us is actually the BQE. It's running right beneath us.
Yep, folks, if you didn't know, there's a highway underneath us.
Yeah, in fact, this promenade wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the compromise that allowed for this highway to be built as a ridge rather than right through this whole area. It was in the 1950s, and Robert Moses just wanted to ram it through. But the BHA, the Brooklyn Heights Association, fought, and were able to get this compromise. This is all New York Harbor, you can see. And then here you have Brooklyn Bridge Park. You have the piers that pertain to Brooklyn Bridge Park, which is 85 acres right along the water. And they use the old piers and repurpose them as basketball courts. You can see people over there playing basketball. There's soccer fields. It's pretty cool.
So cool. Let's walk up this promenade.
You want to walk?
I want to see the rest of this view here.
All right. It's a nice day.
Yeah, beautiful day.
Maybe at Coney Island, similar to that.
See A lot of people come here just for the view also.
Yeah, man. People run here in the mornings, and then you see all these buildings. See, these are all on Columbia Heights. They got an amazing view. Imagine just waking up in the morning and you're in your underwear looking out with your coffee in your hand, and this is a view you get. Pretty amazing. This is all New York Harbor. It's interesting, too, is you forget that, like, Milan Kundera once called New York beauty by accident. And he's a famous novelist, but it's true. I mean, everything about New York, even the fact that the harbor, the way it is naturally, it is protected by Staten Island and Long Island, Brooklyn, the part of Long Island. And allows for like a natural harbor that's protected by these two land masses, which made it appealing to set up shop on Manhattan Island because it's protected and it's deep enough to do shipping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what Henry Hudson saw in it when he came and explored it, and he reported back. Henry Hudson, the namesake of the Hudson River. He was hired by the Dutch East India Company to find a route to India. Failed miserably, but found this place. And then in 1625, New Amsterdam was chartered.
By the way, New Amsterdam used to be New York.
No, other way around.
Really?
Yeah. New York used to be New Amsterdam.
Oh, New York. I was like, yeah.
You know it's called New York, right? It's not New Amsterdam. Ken's like, wait, I've been living in New York this whole time? I thought this was New Amsterdam. No, it's New York. But yeah, it was called New Amsterdam first until the British took it over in 1664 and renamed it New York after James, Duke of York. He was Charles II's brother, and it was his idea to take it from the Dutch. And it was actually taken without a drop of bloodshed. Mm-hmm. They just came in and they're like, yeah, give it to us. And they're like, well, Peter Stuyvesant, who was the Director General, was like, I'm going to fight for it. And everyone else was like, yeah, I don't really feel like it. So they negotiated like favorable terms with the British, and they just like, all right, here you go.
And now Peter Stuyvesant is buried somewhere.
That's right.
In Manhattan.
That's right, St. Mark's. Right on the St. Mark's in the Bowery, the church over in the East Village. Well, we're getting closer to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is right over there. This is an awesome view of the Brooklyn Bridge over here.
Getting much closer to it.
Yeah. You know where we could end is in Fulton Ferry Landing, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
You want to walk down there?
I think we can end it at the end of the promenade.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the battery will last that long, so.
Oh, okay.
That way I can start a new video.
Yeah. So what's cool too is you see like the bridge, right where the bridge is located is where the ferry used to cross pretty much, and there's an area called the Fulton Ferry Landing. And it grew around where the ferry would come in and dock. And once the bridge opened, the Fulton Ferry Landing kind of fell into disrepair. But the bridge is pretty awesome, obviously. It's one of my favorite structures in the world, in fact. I just think it's such a cool looking bridge. One of the interesting things about it, it's a suspension bridge, as you can see. But it was built and finished in 1883, and it's massive, obviously, but it's not that big compared to other suspension bridges. But for that time, it was huge. And it was catching the tail end of like the neo-Gothic revival of architecture. And that's why it's like a Gothic bridge, which is pretty cool because you don't see bridges, suspension bridges that are Gothic bridges. They're mostly like Art Deco and all these kind of things that, you know, came later. The style came later, you know, and that's why, because it was built way before. So you got this cool, like the cool Gothic arches and the stone.
Hey, what's up, man?
Ken, you're scaring him away. Hi, guy.
Native New Yorkers.
Look, they're playing basketball down there. You see that? That's a real cool place to play. It's fun to play basketball down there.
Oh, it is fun.
A lot of cool basketball, really nice basketball hoops and courts.
Well, before the Brooklyn Bridge, people got to Manhattan by ferry.
By ferry, the Fulton Ferry.
It
was a steamship.
Fulton Ferry.
Are you drunk, Ken?
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah. Oh, look, all the squirrels. There's some squirrels over here. Here's a little secret. If you want to feed the squirrels, give them cashews. They'll come up and eat it right in your hand.
Ooh.
But don't get mad at me if they bite you.
It's also an excellent place to take pictures. I see a lot of photographers.
A lot of photographers and people taking video.
Yeah.
People are always doing like student films and stuff here.
It's also a great place to see the fireworks, July 4th.
That's right. That's right. It gets pretty packed, actually.
And that's if they're launching from the East River. Sometimes
Right. They've done it before on the west.
side.
Yeah. They've done it before on the west. I think they did. Now they just keep doing it on the east now, though. Hey, you start seeing we're getting closer to the Brooklyn Bridge, which was built by the Roebling family. In fact, John Roebling, the designer of the Brooklyn Bridge, died while building the bridge. This is kind of crazy. He died, so he was out there scouting out this location for the first stone of the Brooklyn Tower of the bridge. On his way back, he gets off his boat. This is like 3 weeks into building it. The boat hits his leg against the pier and crushes his foot. He has to get his toes amputated. So then he just tries to take care of himself with hot water, and he ends up getting tetanus and then gangrene and dies. This is going to be the biggest bridge, the biggest suspension bridge in history. So then they ask his son to take over. His poor son's like crying about his dad, and they're like, hey man, you gotta build this thing. He's like, oh crap, all right. So he takes over, and then while he's building it, he gets a horrible case of the bends, which is decompression sickness, because that's how they built it. They sunk these huge boxes to the bottom, and they dug and excavated till they hit granite, hit the bedrock. And going up and down, he got a bad case of the bends, so he couldn't be there anymore. So guess who has to build it then? His wife, Emily Warren Roebling. She has to deal with his cranky husband who's all sick, and she's got to build it at a time when women couldn't even vote. She's got to tell hundreds of male immigrants what to do.
Wow.
I know. And so to thank the Roebling family, they put a plaque on the Manhattan Tower when it was finished, thanking John Roebling, thanking Washington Roebling, and no mention of Emily Warren Roebling.
Oh, man.
I know, isn't that messed up?
That's so messed up.
I know. In the 1950s, they finally rectified it by putting one on the Brooklyn side, saying, oh yeah, and she helped, pretty much.
Yeah. I noticed that when I was walking the bridge too. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Someone's involved, but should be mentioned.
But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the promenade.
All right. So we're going to end the video here.
Oh yeah, turn that thing
let's
around.
turn it around. All right.
What's up?
We're going to end the video here. If you like this video, be sure to like it down below. Subscribe for some more. Check out Tom's channel.
Yeah, Tom
He's
DNYC.
awesome.
Yeah, subscribe and follow
Yeah.
on Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah, and he's still doing the Secrets of New York tour.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
right.
Join him up. But take care.
You'll see us again soon, don't worry.
We'll see you again next time. Later.